I was thankful because he introduced me to the Kaiser Construction that donated Dan to Kaiser. And so, he was a really good guy. Got to spend two times with him, 3 hours apiece, told me his story and that kind of stuff, and they donated to the diesel and auto program and all the tech ed stuff, so.
They don't know. Let's call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members Alex Melizba and Robin Richards are both excused. Also on the administrative side, Pete Klein and Tyson Klomach are excused. Oh, and Heather, that's right. I knew Heather wasn't going to be here. I forgot to note it. This meeting was submitted to the Green Bay Press Gazette on Thursday, June 12, 2025. The meeting notice was distributed on Thursday, June 12, 2025, for posting to the Bank of Luxembourg Home Office, Luxembourg Post Office, and Casco Post Office. Our district's mission statement: we inspire minds, challenge students, and promote excellence. We are Spartans. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Dave, a second.
I'll second.
Second by Brandy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comments on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Prior to making a public comment, individuals must announce their name, address, and group affiliation. Each speaker's comments are limited to 3 minutes. All statements are to be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Speakers should not expect an immediate response or reaction to their comments. Do we have any comments today? Hearing none. Our next meeting dates, subject to change, are July 16th, August 20th, both at 7 o'clock and both in this multi-purpose room. Board opening comments? Anybody? No?
Graduation went very well. It's our
Yes,
first
it
meeting
did.
since graduation, and very timely, I thought. So, yeah, kudos to everybody who set up and kept things going.
Okay. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to the time the board votes, unless a board member requests an item to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Do I have an approval?
I have a question on it, but other than that, if we can get an answer, I would then approve it.
Okay.
Rebecca, by the time I left the voicemail for you, you were gone. I don't know if you had a chance to hear it or not.
I did
But
not.
the question was on the input cash receipts on page 3, item 44. Just questioning, what is it where we received a MAC payment of $17,822.90.95 and a settlement of $21,320.03.
So that's medicated.
Those are Medicaid? Oh, okay, thank
Yep,
you.
yep,
I just didn't know
so-
what they were, and I'm going, well, it's nice to get
Yep.
$39,000, but.
Yep, and then, we have the cost settlement payment we'll get every year, and then a back
Oh, Okay,
payment.
all right, thank
So
you.
that's what those two are.
All right, thank you.
Easy.
So I make a motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Dave, second.
I'll second.
Motion by Jenny, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Administrative reports.
I'll go. Loyal School District and Greenwood School District on July 1st. Been texting the superintendent. He called me on Friday. They want to come visit the diesel program and learn more about it. Since Joellen just got back from vacation, I told her about it today. Just teasing. And got to learn about food. So that's the most important part of the conversation, the excitement that she had coming back from vacation. So outside of that, we are presenting in 2 conferences coming up here. The mental health one, which is here, and then down in Wisconsin, Dells, building relationships for businesses or with businesses and support and how do you help them create a future pipeline, but they invest in you as a school system, and it's that mutual partnership that really helps students, employers, and the school kind of helping kids find their purpose. So excited about that opportunity when the Dells coming up. Oh, and we did apply to the state convention as well, so maybe we'll get picked this time. So with Bellin Health, Howard Swamico, and Bellin College, the group of us submitted a proposal. So
Was it WASB convention?
yeah.
Nice.
And I just got back from the LC Abroad community trip to Greece. Very well run. It's the same company that Lauren uses when she does the trips for the kids. And it was, there was a guide with us the entire time, and if anything got a little bumpy, she smoothed everything out. So, when the kids take trips, I'm pretty confident that, they're in really good hands. Because if it was anything like the trip that I was on, it was, it's really good, very well organized.
Nice tan.
Thank you.
By the way.
The other thing is, this just happened the other day, is the Joint Finance Committee took up the K-12 education and share revenue, and they came back with no increase in general school aid. They shift the cost burden entirely to local taxpayers for the $325 per pupil. That's outside of the revenue limit, and it undercut the broad-based special ed support. So basically, they're saying general and equalization aid that there's going to be no increase. Again, that $225 is going to be funded by local taxes. The special education categorical aid, where it was pushed to get a 60% reimbursement. Right now, we're supposed to get a 33%. We're actually getting about 30%. They went down to 35%. They added in high-cost special aid, high-cost special education aid to a 50% reimbursement, but that's not sufficient, so it'll probably get less. And not all districts in the state of Wisconsin submit for high-cost special aid. There's a little over 100 districts that don't even touch that pot of money, so they would get nothing. And mental health services, a net reduction of about $10 million for school-based services. So everything that we thought was going to be in the budget is not there after the Joint Finance Committee got their hands on it. So everybody is pretty much in an uproar today about what's going to happen as far as how K-12 funding is going to happen for next year. Because it's nothing about that's been talked. It's just suddenly this after the talks have been something completely different up until this point. So, yay. So.
Let the taxpayers pay.
Well,
And that's what they're saying.
right, and basically they're putting everybody into a position that as we went to an operational referendum, we'll probably have to go for another one again. Unless, something dramatic. We were hoping with this budget that they would raise the revenue limit ceiling and raise the per pupil cost so that we would not have to go to referendum again. And especially if they would have added in more special ed reimbursement, we probably would not have had to go to referendum. But if these budget recommendations go through, we will definitely have to. So yeah, again, another surprise coming back from vacation.
Yeah.
Yay.
Anybody else?
I would just say, working on the transition from, the last school year to the upcoming one. And as you've seen, and not only for the middle school, but some of the other buildings as well, some of that either transfer of staff or hiring season, if you will, so.
We officially ended spring last week, so just transitioning to get ready for the fall. I have a coaches meeting coming up in July that I'll do a meeting, and there's a professional development opportunity. I'm on the water board, so I have a retreat coming up in July for that as well. So. I
end of the school year. Our last teacher workday, we had a high school staff meeting. I was able to present Morgan Cherney with the WCAS Special Education Award, which was really nice. Jeff wrote a really nice article kind of highlighting her work. She's an excellent teacher, so it was nice to have the opportunity to kind of give her a shout out. I definitely pushed her out of her comfort zone. She doesn't love that award accepting it in front of other people, and we surprised her with it, but it was really nice to be able to do that, so that was a great way to end the year. I also heard back from DPI on our special education audit of our paperwork, and we cleared that, so I'm just waiting for the official letter from DPI certifying that, but the person who was responsible for reviewing let us know that she looked through everything and felt like it looked all good to go, so we should be getting a letter from DPI soon, kind of closing us out of that process, which is sooner than expected, because the timeline they gave me was that we couldn't be in that until October of this coming school year. So the fact that we didn't have any corrections when she went through is great, because otherwise that would have dragged that process out for a while, so it's nice to have that taken care of and out of the way. And then other than that, just really focusing on staffing. We've got 4 out of the 6 special ed positions filled. We'll talk a little bit about that later too, but still 2 more positions that I'm looking into.
All I really have is preventative maintenance service agreements. The bid RFP went out today, so that's for the boilers, chillers, and the condensers. And then other than that, like business offices are busy time right now because we're prepping for the audit that will happen end of July. So it's getting things closed out, paid, and finalized. It's been busy.
Okay. School liaison report. Officer Nia.
Hello. So looking at the report, obviously you can see what was what we were most busy with this last quarter. It's obviously truancies. That's when they come into effect most often. So between Dana and I, we had quite a few with not only just meetings, but then if you look at this report, it actually shows how many that we actually followed through with on either a juvenile referral or a citation. John, I know you probably don't understand these quite so much because they are a lot to look at. But in the all the way to the right on those, it tells you what the disposition of it is. So you can see if a citation was issued or if a JDR means juvenile referral, or a warning is what that would result in. So yeah, we have quite a few referrals and citations, so hopefully the referrals are processed through human services, and then those kiddos can work with somebody for the next school year, and hopefully we don't have those truancy issues with them anymore. Other than that though, it was a good end to the school year. Now it's back to the jail for 3 months and changing life. No, I'm just kidding.
See what kind of new tricks you can learn?
Patience, learn more patience.
Oh,
A whole different kind of ballgame with some of those folks there. But no, I actually just went to a training yesterday, and then I'm going to a training next week with a lot of the school members too, so I'm excited for that. Yesterday at my training I learned a lot to bring back about reunification for drills and stuff like that, and other resources just to use on sex crimes or internet cyberbullying, things like that. So yeah, it was a good training, and yeah, looking forward to next week. So. Any questions?
Enjoy your summer.
Thanks, Nia.
FFA alumni using Casco land.
So Linda, myself, Alex, Jessica Hoyak, and Matt Hine went to the Village of Casco board meeting to talk about the use of that 15 acres by Casco. There was a bunch of misinformation about our ability to use our land for farming. It boiled down to the village is concerned about the nitrate levels in the water for the wells, and so that they were concerned about fertilizing. And so we're still going to be able to farm and use the land. We're just going to have to be very cautious about the use of nitrates on it. Pretty much sums up.
Yeah, we were there maybe, not even 10 minutes, I don't think. But everything Yeah, there was a lot of miscommunication.
Yeah. But we got it all on here right now.
They didn't give us a land offer though, so, okay. Approve, or discuss and approve the 25-26 base wage increase for certified staff.
Okay, so we offered certified staff, we did the 2.95%, which is CPIU, and it was on the base wage. So it's not on their individual wages, it's a base wage. And then that was distributed by step increases, lane changes, and then it left $860 to be put in each remaining cell. This certified calculation too then, if you recall, when the base changes, it also changes the co-curricular schedule. So then it's why I highlighted that area, because that's part of this increase and what that total impact was for that base wage increase. And I did include then those sheets so you could see them and kind of redid it to have it a little bit cleaner. I do not have middle school athletics in here, but it's because it's later on in the agenda with Todd, and then you'll know why. So I just included the high school and then middle school and high school academics only, so.
Questions? Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Jenny, second by,
I'll second.
second by Brandy. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. District commercial insurance.
Great, so I do have a recommendation in there. We bid out to M3 and then Bazan's, and the other one was R&R Insurance, as well as, I can't think of the one Ron works at.
Alliance.
Is it Alliance? Yes, and
Alliance,
he
yeah.
failed to bid. He said they no longer work with schools. They don't do that type of insurance anymore for schools. So he said, thank you. R&R declined, because they wanted the cyber part of it, and our cyber starts August 1st, I believe. So it's a little later time. And so then it was just these two. Now, there was one difference, workman's comp. I had to reach back out to M3 because their workman's comp is based on your payrolls, and they didn't have the increase in the payroll. So I wrote them back to say, here's the increase we used that the Advance had, so that it was apples to apples. So they came back with a little bit higher premium. So really then, their total premium for M3 was $282,352. And I don't know where I got $4,421 for the difference, but it's really $17,687 that M3 is more than Bazan's. So the price difference was substantial in my mind, but the overall coverage is honestly pretty comparable. It's just some of them are rolled up in different areas. And so I did ask Bazan's and M3 to come too if they needed to like explain stuff, because that part I get confused about where the coverage is, but if Dave understands, then we're good.
without reading through the policies literally, no, I do
No.
know that we have a very, very good, reputable person presenting from, and I would certainly recommend continuing with them because they do a very good job for us.
Yes.
So that's I make a motion to approve them. Unless anyone objects in the audience.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Jonathan, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. WIAA renewal.
Typically, this is a paper, but they've changed it to an online thing, so I just asked Dawn if we probably should still put it in front of you. So Linda will give me permission to go on and sign it for you, so it's just giving, it's not up to you, it's just, we have to renew it every year.
That's just the same annual.
Yeah, I usually have a piece of paper, but they're no
Yeah.
longer doing paper.
Yeah, it just was on the internet online.
And if we don't,
Okay, that wouldn't
we're
be
pretty
good.
well,
That wouldn't be good.
yeah, there, that's a good way, thank you. I'm trying to find a polite way to,
So is that a motion, Dave?
sure, that's my, sure, I'll make a motion.
And then I need a second.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. CISA 8 service agreement.
Yep, so I would again recommend that we contract with CISA 8 for our DHH and visually impaired services for our students. We have a small number of students with those needs, so it doesn't really make sense for us to take on a whole staff person. So contracting with CISA is the most efficient way to do that.
And CISA 7 does not offer that service either, so.
Correct, CISA 7 is starting to expand some more of their related service options. At this point, we have several high schoolers where families have been with these same providers for a long time, so I don't really want to change that up right now. But that is something that both CISA 7 and 8 have been in close communication as CISA 7's been expanding their related service options. So we do contract with CISA 7 for some services, but yes, they have not had DHH and VI, but I am kind of paying attention to, as CISA 7 kind of builds more providers, that might be an option to shift some more providers over to our CISA 7 contract rather than having the two separate contracts, but.
As long as it's not 6. That taste there.
And that's further away. I think we'd have a hard time getting our
There,
providers
yeah.
from up there, so. But CISA 8 has been working out very well for us right now for these providers.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, and motion's been made. Second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is a donation from Royal Creek Feed Mill.
In our agreement with, for the diesel program, they went, I think the name is of one of the owners. Adam went through the diesel program, and they believe in the program and what we're doing, and the youth apprenticeship. They've had numerous students there and very supportive of the program, so they donated $2,500 for 5 years. I believe this is their last payment for this. So they were very generous to us and very thankful, the things that we're doing, and we're very thankful. So it's just going back to pay off part of the diesel when the board used fund balance to pay for that, so.
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. LC High School Coaches Handbook.
I think one of the, I wouldn't say a major change, but just a change I'm kind of gonna make with the bus procedures. Tyson shared a athletic transport form that he used it as old school. I'm gonna implement that. We run into a problem with golf. We try to provide transportation, but we don't know who's going on what day, so this will give the parent, we'll have the parent sign it, giving them permission to ride with another student. It just, with the girls, sometimes my coaches were waiting, and it causes havoc. And most of them are catching rides with kids anyway, so. So I'll just be implementing this paper copy or a Google Doc that people can fill out, so.
And any update on NIL? When's that gonna be?
It's, the language is out there, all their stuff right now has all the lines on it, so I wanna get the copy that doesn't have all the lines.
But will that be in the coach's handbook before they
Oh, yeah, I
begin
mean,
into the?
I've already presented to my coaches,
Oh.
they already have the language, so.
Okay.
And it's already in effect, because the May bulletin board, the May WI bulletin is out, that's when all that stuff becomes official. So I haven't had any requests at this point, so I don't foresee anything major, but I'll get it in them.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brandy, second by
I'll second it.
Jonathan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss and approve the addition of middle school volleyball coach.
Yep, so honestly, this is something that until I laid eyes on what it looked like last year, I probably should have come and asked for it last year. But there were 36 seventh graders last year, and the overwhelming majority of them are already signed up for this coming year. So the idea was I should have had 3 teams at seventh grade, and now I'm projecting 3 at eighth. What that looks like for volleyball is there are 6 girls on the court at a time. And so last year, there were effectively 12 on the bench for every event, so. And, you know, despite the occasional illness or absence or what have you, it's still a pretty big number.
So you're looking to add 1 coach,
Mm-hmm.
not an assistant to be with? just-
Correct. So right now, there are 4 paid volleyball positions. That ends up being 2 seventh grade, 2 eighth grade. The request for the 5th would make a 3rd eighth grade.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Is this just for a 1-year thing, or is this for if you have multiple?
I don't know what the following
That's-
years will be.
It's basically more based on numbers than it is on anything.
Correct.
Sorry, I'm just clarifying. Yeah, makes sense.
Yep. Right now, we have 22 seventh graders who are signed up. So if it remains at that number, it'll be 22 eighth graders, but I don't know what the next batch will bring. This is a pretty high, I will say, the outgoing seventh grade, incoming eighth grade participated at a pretty significant rate. You know, even though it's and it's a pretty big class, but they participated at a pretty high rate too, so. The other thing also is I gave the league a heads up that this might happen, so they built the schedule already. It's easier to go in reverse. It's easier to massage and move those games than it is to try to put them in, so the schedule's already built for that. Now I would just need 5 coaches. I have either 1 or 0 at the moment for volleyball. So.
Well, your 8th grade coaches, their own kids now are moving to high school, so, I mean, I can see where, you know, they want to be able to watch their own child play, you know, at the high school level, so.
And they had done it for a number of years. So I mean, it's not unusual for someone to be in a position like that for 6, 8, 10 years, and then they're like, okay, I'm
Someone
done.
else's turn,
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Jenny, second by,
I'll second it.
oh, okay, by Jonathan. All in favor?
I-
Opposed? Motion carried. Middle school athletic pay schedule.
So this one's been kind of in the works or brainstormed for a while, and I tried, and I gave you quite a bit of information by way of rationale there. By all means, if you have any questions, let me know, but the short version would be, a couple of things have happened since that was adjusted last with the percentages of the base. And that would be that the wrestling season's longer than it was before, football's a little bit longer than it was before, and dance is a little bit longer than it was before, but basketball is also shorter, substantially, and that's one of the bigger changes. The basketball seasons used to be essentially most of November, December for boys, most of January, February for girls. Now both of those seasons are condensed between fall and effectively Christmas break. That started out as we're going to pilot this, we're going to see how it goes for the league, as the league also struggled for years and years with girls' basketball numbers overall, and it's looking more permanent. And so, effectively, the basketball coaching positions had been paid at a rate that was similar to what the longest seasons were. The dance season about doubled. And then when I eventually was looking at comparisons to try to figure out how to handle that, we're clearly behind the rest of the league, including a couple that we normally compare ourselves to in Denmark or Wrightstown, significantly so. So the idea is to redistribute that, and on that scale, what I tried to do is have something, try to get all the 6-week seasons effectively at that same percentage of the base. And then to have, it's not quite a percent or a 0.5%, but have something logical for, okay, going from 6 weeks to 9 weeks, or going from 9 weeks to 11 weeks. The caveat for dance in this proposal is treated a little bit different in that while it's about 11 weeks long, they do like one travel. Whereas all of the other coaches are going home and away and for long hours and those sorts of things. So that was my rationale, whether it's correct or not. That's what was in my mind for that. And then it would be effectively over 2 years where you see the first year alternate, but it would be in the second year when girls basketball would then lower, rather than have them drop in 1 year. It's a step. The other thing about this is we can't just simply we can't just simply compare directly to all of those league schools and put us like right in the middle, because the other thing for us to keep track of is, and Jenny and I worked on this, so that, you know, the overwhelming majority of these middle school coaches are not going to be paid more than a high school coach, with, I think it's an exception of maybe our wrestling and your golf, I think, your assistant golf or something. So it's still keeping below them.
You probably have several coaching positions open as well, right?
Yeah, so right now, there are either 4 or 5 volleyball positions. I think we only have 1 soccer coach, and I think we only have the numbers for 1 this fall. We are going to have 1 girls basketball, 1 boys basketball. I have 1 person interested in one of the boys basketball. A couple of the current coaches, I gave them a heads up about this might be coming, and I have to follow up with them so that I can say to them, okay, I'd love to have you on, here's what it looks like for the salary schedule. We're just waiting for that to come forward. Dance, I don't have any bites on dance just yet. As far as I know, everything else is okay. So the effort in the top part of that, and Rebecca, please jump in if I say this wrong. So effectively, what you had just approved for the certified staff base, and what Rebecca would have had come before you is in the top part of that co-curricular schedule. The addition of the volleyball comes below that, giving you the new official middle school co-curricular, and then that gives you an idea of what the overall budgeted number increase would be. I included what I think are positions that realistically may not be filled for the coming year, just to get a sense of what's budgeted versus what is likely. And then the proposal down below, I reorganized it just to put the 11 weeks, the longer seasons, and then in order by season. So, and then those percentages of the base are tweaked in my mind to more closely resemble the length of their seasons in recent years. Again, with the caveat that basketball would have another decrease the year after, to be in line with the 2.9 of the other 6-week seasons. Did I do okay there, Rebecca?
Yes, you did. That's why I didn't comment. I was like,
Any questions for Todd?
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Change to an open middle school special education position to a 1-year limited term reading interventionist position.
So, as you know, we have several special education openings, still waiting to fill 2 of those positions. One of them is the middle school position. Last month, I brought a very similar proposal to you for intermediate school. We posted that as a reading specialist, with a 1-year limited term, with a caveat that that person would go back and get their special ed license, to fill that special ed role as a reading specialist. That was successful. We had 5 applicants for that, 2 internal and 3 external, so we definitely saw more interest going that route. We kind of wrote it in here as like giving it another 2 weeks. I did just have a candidate apply to the cross-cap position yesterday. I called today and have an interview scheduled for next week with that person. So it's possible, if that person works out, that this is not going to be needed, with having those interviews scheduled. However, if that does not pan out, this would be another avenue to try and maybe take a different approach to filling that position and still meeting the needs of our students at the middle school level. Anything to add?
I would just say that this is one where we connected a bit last week, and we were like, oh, wait a minute. The June board agenda is coming out, and otherwise we would have to wait till July and so on and so forth. So it came together relatively quickly as we had a chance to look at it. And this position's been posted since April,
Yeah,
I think.
it's been posted for a
Yeah.
while.
So
Better to be safe.
It gives you options, in case your interview doesn't work out. So I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Linda.
You did.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? See, they have to know that I was here too. Discuss, approve signing a rebuttal letter regarding decoupling.
Yeah, so on June 8th, there was an op-ed piece in the Green Bay Press Gazette that advocated a separate funding system for voucher schools. This was originally proposed last year by Joel Kitchens, and it gained no traction. And there were a lot of issues. If we start running, we're already having problems finding a good way to fund the K-12 education system in Wisconsin, where everybody can agree at adequate funding. But now it would be taking away vouchers, that all voucher schools would be funded under general purpose revenue. So the rules and regulations that public schools have in terms of funding, that the voucher schools would not have those. And legislation would be able to just funnel money right through schools through the general purpose revenue without any checks and balances. And that's why it didn't get any traction last year. So now we have an op-ed piece saying that this would be great, and it is not. It would not be good for Wisconsin schools. And we don't have one system that doesn't work well. Why do we need 2 systems? And that is a problem. So actually this got started by Chris from De Pere. He kind of wrote a rebuttal and is asking the Brown County schools, also ourselves, Howard Swanwick, Cole, and Pulaski, to all sign this letter as a rebuttal to that op-ed piece explaining why it is a bad idea. And so everybody's just waiting to the board to see if that's okay, that we're just going to, as an entity, agree with this and put our name on this.
I have serious problems with it on that. And so I didn't know the background on it. One of the questions I had is, first of all, who asked to have it on the agenda? From what you're just saying, I assume that was you. I said, what's the original letter that this is going to be a rebuttal to, or at least that you've given us that. It was an op-ed article in the Press Gazette.
Right.
To be honest, the letter that we have here sounds like it was scripted by an organization. I'm opposed to having our district be used as a pawn in the negotiations back and forth. I didn't know what was going on, so I sent an email off to both Joel Kitchens and also to our Senator Andre Jacques. Andre did not reply. I have printouts here of what Joel said if you want, otherwise I can take time to read it. I think I'd probably rather read it, but if anyone wants it, I do have copies for everyone. He starts out, "Hi, David, the board has a right to do what they want, of course, but I do not personally believe this is a good idea for the board to take a purely political stand on this. There are valid arguments on both sides of the issue, and one can argue that Kate Zuski's article does not tell the whole story, but this letter also contains half-truths. To begin with, the home school district does not pay for the voucher students. The district is given the authority to levy for the amount that goes to the voucher schools for the above their normal levy limits, which they almost all do. In the case of Green Bay, the letter says that vouchers cost the district $12 million. That happens in reality, what happens in reality is that the Green Bay levies for an additional $12 million above their revenue limit, which they then send to the voucher schools. If vouchers did not exist, they would not get that $12 million, so it is not costing them anything. I would also point out that $12 million amounts to about 3% of their budget. There are many school administrators who support decoupling because they would no longer need to levy for voucher students. This would lower the property tax bill for their constituents and make their bills easier to explain and easier to defend. The Democratic Party opposes decoupling because they believe the current funding system is advantageous to them politically. In the end, it's a complicated issue, as are most issues dealing with education funding. Few members of the public understand it, and it's easy to cherry-pick facts that favor a position. All polls show that vouchers are very popular across the state. I continue to work toward making the funding more fair between voucher and public schools and to make sure they are accountable. I do not believe that they are going away. Even Governor Evers stated publicly that he did not want the Supreme Court to take up the case to end vouchers. Your school district is strongly Republican. School success depends on building trust within a community. Luxemburg-Casco is a great school district with very strong public support. I cannot imagine why the board would want to wade into such a highly charged political issue, knowing that your position is unpopular. I support educating the public in a nonpartisan manner so that they can make informed decisions. To me, I don't think that is what this is. I'm happy to discuss this further if you like. Joel Kitchen, the chairman of the Assembly Committee of Education. So I sent him the original letter, and that was his response to me. I don't believe we should be involved in the politics. I have no problem with anyone or all of you signing a letter and sending something off, but I would not support the board as a group moving that direction. So I would make a motion to not sign the
One of the
letter.
things that we have had conversations, and when I talk about it's the area superintendents with Joel Kitchens, is to identify on tax bills how much that our district is actually levying. Because when we put our levy and he's right, people don't understand that but what happens is that we levy for those voucher schools, and yes, it passes through us. So people think we're getting that additional money. So when you're looking at Green Bay, people think that additional $12 million is going to Green Bay because that's what they are levying for. They're not understanding that $12 million of that is actually being passed on. So we asked, and we was like, can you do something legislatively so that the tax bills show that this is how much is actually being levied for voucher schools above and beyond what the actual school district is using? And Joel was very adamant not to do that. And we've been talking to him over a year to try to get that passed so that we have some more transparency. And that's what it is. It's a transparency issue. And he's not in favor of doing that. I think, one of the things is that, when we're talking about politics in school boards, it is a political entity. I mean, we have to be able to advocate for what is best for our district. And having two separate funding systems is not going to be in our best interest as a school district. And I can understand exactly what Joel's saying in that, and that was his position before, but it's not, and that's why it didn't get traction before either, is because, that's his opinion, if you're talking about budget, and that is fine, but that is not necessarily what's good for our district. I think that this is more of a transparency and communication piece, because based on the op-ed piece, this is what this woman has said about, the two different systems, and we're coming back and saying, no, this is how it's really affecting us.
Well, there's
And what our
half-truths in both of
specifics.
those.
Well, I understand that, and I also think that it's very interesting that you, and you're free to go to Andre Jack and Joel Kitchens, get answers, but, you didn't ask, you didn't contact me and ask me anything about this. Now, granted, this came at the last minute, because actually, I was texting Jennifer when I was in Athens, and said, can you put this on the board agenda so that we can, so I didn't have time to really explain why we wanted this, but I do think it's a communication piece to our constituents, that people that have read this opinion piece, and somebody saying, yeah, this is really great, whoa, 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 you're not in education, you're not in the district, you're not running our finances, and we're saying that this isn't good for us. And I think that's communication that our community does need, because if they're just getting that one side of the story without hearing our position on this,
And
they're not getting the full picture.
And what would happen, or what, for the districts that either have or will be approving this, what will happen with your rebuttal letter?
What do you mean, what will happen? with
Well,
it?
you're asking the board to
To
approve.
support the
Yeah,
rebuttal.
so
yes.
what is going to happen?
So then this is going to go to the Press Gazette as a
Yeah,
rebuttal.
that's what I'm asking.
Mhm.
No,
And
I
so it
don't.
is a communication piece to our communities, that this one opinion by this one person does not tell the whole story, there is another side.
Well, my motion is to not approve this. I'm not in favor of getting involved into the politics. We can individually do that. The reason I went to Joel is because I know him, because he's been to numerous CISA meetings that I've been at, and I know he's the chair of the Education Committee. I think it's appropriate, since we're talking about state effects, to talk to our state representatives, which you seem to
And
have
that's fine,
implied
and
that
you're
was
free to do
wrong.
that. I'm just wondering why you didn't ask me.
Well,
to,
first,
and what the, as to why.
First, I didn't
But
know
that's
who
beside-
did
that
it.
is
Second of
completely
all,
beside
you
the
were
point.
out of the country, and I didn't know
Right.
how to contact you. If I'd have known that you were the one, but regardless, that's part of my
Yeah,
thing.
that's
Who
okay.
asked you to have it on? And I take a little bit of offense that you seem to think that I should have made an effort to reach out to you on that.
I think
But-
this is a thing that,
It's highly
It-
politically charged.
that's right. I mean, this came about in the elections this spring, and I really think that's why one of the the person that was running on the Republican side lost, because of the voucher system.
I think the person lost because of an outside person who has a very bad reputation, that put a lot of money in and supporting her.
But money doesn't always talk.
It's the reputation of the money that I think turned a lot of people off, because I know a lot of people personally that said that they voted the way they did because of Elon Musk being involved in it. So this is a very highly political issue, and I don't believe our
is.
board needs to be
And-
involved in it.
And-
as a board.
And as a school board, we are not supposed to be politically
But
involved.
individually, we can all be involved.
individually, but not as a school board. As a school board, we are here for one purpose, and that is for the kids.
So my motion is to not sign this letter.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. By names here first. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, 2-0. Information items. Yeah. Anything? Closed session? Don't have anything. So therefore, adjourn.
so
I need
moved.
a motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made, second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Linda, officially, what time did we start?
I wrote
7:06.
down Okay, so I looked at my clock and I thought it said 7:06 and then I wrote down 7:08, so I
Oh,
wasn't sure.
that might be our shortest one ever. Where's Bob? Where's Bob to give him grief? Bob, we can give him grief. He's always, we got.
Mad about how long we lasted.